Welcome back, Dota 2 fans. Game 3 decider semi-finals game on Dota 2 Invitational here. Prodota taking on Spider Pigs, and Spider Pigs in game 2 able to take this to a decider with a very aggressively slanted lineup. Nyx Assassin, Earth Spirit, Bounty Hunter, all part of that 5-man, and they were able to take it to Flow's Alchemist in game 2. We'll see if Prodota can kind of pick up their socks, build themselves a more cohesive lineup, a lineup with more direction in this third game.
Yeah, never really able to protect their Alchemist either. It seems like every single time a rotation happened, it was always the Alchemist to get the short end of the stick, whether because he's the one who got ganked or because like he just wasn't in position to farm while his allies were getting ganked. So that's like part of the reason why I'm just off the Alchemist. I feel like he's just too fragile. His payoff is too low. There'll be games where he just goes off, but for the most part, you have games where he's kind of, with the most farm on the map, but not significantly. So we'll see what draft is. What the draft is going to be in this game. Io is actually going to get the boot out, which is kind of a weirder one, but maybe I think it's probably worthwhile just given the comfort level of Io with both of these two squads.
Yeah, certainly so. Invoker actually going to garner a ban here. Monty played fairly well in the Invoker last game, especially in terms of split push, was kind of able almost single-handedly to eliminate all the tier 2s from the map while the fight was going on elsewhere. So just taking advantage of the fact that that Alchemist is more than often not going to be present at the fights, and while the Alchemist is trying to desperately find farm elsewhere and scrambling to do so, the Invoker says, I'll let my team take it 4v4 and gain us more map control so we can continue to take fights and continue to strangle this Alchemist out from the quote-unquote safe areas of the map. So really well played by him, and he will garner a ban here. It's going to leave a lot of these strong heroes open in this first phase, and Prodota will be able to get a hero that did not slip through in the first couple games in this Phoenix.
We've seen the power of Phoenix time and time again. The only thing you really would like on top of this Phoenix is just a couple of tanky cores. The tankier, the better. Life Stealer still being the big one that's in the pool. Outside of that, Tide Hunter also another big one that we see teams grabbing as kind of a AoE team fight based combo. So we'll see what Prodota are going to decide there. But for the Spider Pigs, they're going to go ahead and grab the Darkseer. Darkseer Disruptor opening from Spider Pigs. Now that would be a twist.
Yeah, very stubborn thus far. They will grab LeBron's Earth Spirit here, and has been a hero that's been favored relatively highly from both teams in the series thus far. So LeBron going to go back to work, and this was another combination that I actually was going to mention with the Phoenix and Supernova being able to almost guaranteed land and do a lot of burn damage on top of the Chronosphere is really nice. The Sun Ray contributing in, though. We've seen the balanced Fire Ray and how much that can do in fights, especially up against the tankier heroes, and that the Void has trouble bringing down. So this is a bit of a page turning for Boogie and his squad here for Prodota, but I really like the opening from them. Void is also a hero if he ends up in a 1v1 situation against this Darkseer who can deal decently, and Darkseer always going to farm, find his last hits, find his experience in that 1v1 versus a melee hero. But the Void, he's okay to farm it, and we'll see what the eventual laning configuration ends up being. But all in all, Void feels pretty darn resilient to the Earth Spirit until he's able to get a couple points up in that grip, which is usually very later on in the game when the Void has his Chronosphere available. So I really like the opening from Boogie here. We are going to see an Oracle ban come out actually from the Radiant side here, which is a bit interesting because it would mean the Phoenix Oracle duo is a pretty defensive one, although there is certain kill potential with a max hold from Fortune's End.
Trying to protect their Darkseer as much as possible, and if a big part of Spider Pig's game plan is to have the Earth Spirit Darkseer act as more a dual lane than just like a roaming Earth Spirit with Darkseer in the off lane, then you really want those two Ion Shells to stick. And Oracle is the hero that can not only purge off the Ion Shell and the Darkseer, but also because Earth Spirit Darkseer are both melee, you purge off both of them. So then the offensive power of that lane is just completely down the tubes for the Spider Pig squad. So this is more so protecting their offensive power, it seems, from the Darkseer Earth Spirit combination. And it is nice to see Spider Pigs like grab this combo up, opting instead to focus on the lanes. Whereas last time, Prodota, by picking up the Darkseer, they were constantly looking at their mid game, at their team fighting power. It's a little bit of a twist now when as Spider Pigs grab the Darkseer first, and Phoenix. I mean, it is kind of difficult to actually escape that as a Phoenix. You have to Icarus dive every single time if you want to live up against a double Ion Shell. If you don't have the Icarus dive, you're pretty much dead. Prodota probably will also be looking at a Witch Doctor here. So, I mean, yeah, they'll have a stun up against the Darkseer Earth Spirit, but as far as the ability to fight back up against them, in lane, it almost seems impossible at this point. These heroes are just doing way too much damage, and you can't answer the Ion Shell with any further picks. Like, Oracle's the only one who can let you fight back.
Yeah, certainly it would be nice to have up against the DS. I feel like with Phoenix and one other support with sustain, such as a Witch Doctor, as you mentioned, especially if they pick up a naturally resilient hero to the Darkseer Ion Shell, like the Anti-Mage, I think they could fight it. There's definitely potential for a ranged core as well in the safe lane with a Faceless Void being there and bit of anti-synergy potentially with these melee cores. So I think there are ways to deal with it. It's definitely a very strong lane. There's a very strong potential lane coming out, and you mentioned Milan spending, or not Milan, LeBron sometimes spending a little bit more time in the side lanes on his Earth Spirit, so certainly possible for them to pressure in this safe lane. Phoenix a bit weak very early on in the game, and that level 2 mark with the Darkseer and the Earth Spirit having the rolling boulder, the double Ion Shell, and the boulder smash could definitely get some work done. But we'll see how Prodota want to lane it against them. Definitely think there's some potential for a Queen of Pain to come out for Boogie's squad here. She's a fairly resilient mid laner to the Earth Spirit rotations, at least before he's able to pick up the silence and can contribute into the Chronosphere. For the time being, though, Lifestealer is going to be banned out. And what else is new? Badr Hari's going to go back for this Darkseer Disruptor combo.
Copy, Control C, Control V. Just grabbing Prodota's draft, no big deal. So yeah, we've already seen this combo time and time again. And in this game, it's going to be a little bit different because they're going up against the Faceless Void. So the silence going to be relevant at stopping another enemy ultimate, which is something that wasn't really huge when Prodota were running the Disruptor. It was more so for laning considerations and for killing off enemy cores just by trapping them with the Darkseer combo. And we'll see if Spider Pigs are able to put that on display to the same degree that Prodota did in the last game. This is Spider Pig's support duo already up and seems reasonably strong to handle this Faceless Void, as long as the last core in the lane has any sort of damage, and well, they probably should. The Prodota side, yeah, not with the Enchantress access. Again, Witch Doctor, as you said, Queen of Pain, a big one. They can't get their hands on Invoker, unfortunately, for them. So those are really the big heroes that dump damage into that Chronosphere, at least going into that mid lane. There's maybe a chance that for Prodota they grab Queen of Pain and try to slide into a Drow Ranger draft. The door is still open for that if they are if they want to do that, they can probably still sneak into it, actually.
Yeah, the sustain from the Phoenix should offer them enough, especially if they pick up something like a Witch Doctor, as you mentioned. I feel like there's still potential for that, and the wave clear is a bit lacking. The Ion Shell always going to be nice up against a push trap, but the wave clear does seem like it's lacking a little bit in other respects from the Radiant lineup. So I think that's a certain possibility, and Faceless Void, any kind of big control frontliner with a Drow is always going to give her a lot of space. They are going to go for the Jug here, though. He's a little bit resilient to the Glimpse back and the Static Storm, with the Blade Fury being available to him, and he's a melee core with the Healing Ward that can deal decently with the Darkseer. Doesn't benefit all that much from the Faceless Void, though, so look for a mid laner who certainly does. But Boogie just going to pick up a fairly standard core that is somewhat of a self-sufficient laner, especially should be fine with a Phoenix behind him and can look to fight early and often.
This also makes a Death Prophet pickup slightly more attractive for Prodota, just having the sustain coming in from the Juggernaut to allow you to go for those pushes with the Exorcism. We'll put the pressure back onto the Spider Pig side, and now it looks like it's something that they should be looking towards. Spider Pig's really ripping off the Prodota draft from Game 2, with the Alchemist now their selection. But yeah, for Prodota, looking at the Death Prophet will allow them to pressure the Alchemist now. The lane matchup is favorable. Is situationally has to worry about the Earth Spirit, but with the Alchemist to help out, not really something of huge concern. Right now for Prodota, putting damage into the Chronosphere is great and everything, but objective number one is make sure you have heroes that are capable of pushing down towers. Just try to limit the space of the Alchemist to exactly what Spider Pigs did to the Alchemist in the last game. I'm not really sure if time to bust out all those roamers, but it's going to be a Lion instead. Reasonable up against the Earth Spirit and Darkseer for sure, and it does of course leave that mid lane open. Pro Dota though, I'm not really sure if they're able to apply enough pressure to Alchemist early with these heroes. You really do want like a bounty hunter type hero when there's an enemy Alchemist in play.
Yeah, definitely agreed. At the same time, when they do hit their timings, they get very strong around the 9, 10, 11 minute mark, and I feel like there isn't all that much in the way of space creation for the Radiant side. They do have some good counter aggression though, with both the Disruptor as well as the Earth Spirit. So it does feel like they're a little bit better set up to protect their Alchemist, but a lot of it comes down to this mid laner. You mentioned the Death Prophet. I think that's a really good example of a mid laner that can set up for ganks with the Spirit Siphon and look to bully the Alchemist out of lane, even if she doesn't get that much attention from her support. So I look for the Death Prophet being on the radar for Pro Dota here for sure. Queen of Pain as well is another hero that can bully this Alchemist out of lane in the first 5 levels. So I think there's still a chance for them to bring down the Alch. I definitely agree he won't have as bad of a time, at least in the early game that Flo did. But this Pro Dota lineup gets very strong once they're able to pick up their ultimates.
I mean, Chronosphere Supernova, or Chronosphere Sunray. Like, just get those checkboxes and you're good to go as Pro Dota. Spider Pig's last pick, not going to be that Slark. They really do need a hero in the safe lane that is able to create space. I mean, we've seen teams occasionally pick Slardar, try to do that. Doesn't seem like that's the worst hero in the world, but it kind of seems like they have to grab kind of one of those more oddball safe lane heroes. They really want to make this happen because, most of your safe lane heroes are going to be just those like passive farmers. You really need someone who can join the fights, because Earth Spirit with Darkseer, you can buy a decent amount of space, but you really need another hero's worth of damage if you're going to convincingly go ahead and do that. Sven is the pick. Not really sure if I'm a huge fan of where Spider Pigs have actually ended up. Their ability to fight early on is almost entirely limited to landing a nice Darkseer Disruptor combo. I feel like if that doesn't happen, then Pro Dota with their team fight is just going to walk all over Spider Pigs.
Yeah, it feels much like game 1 with the Darkseer Disruptor draft as well. And yeah, Boogie played out of his mind in that game for Pro Dota on his Disruptor, but it almost feels that it's going to necessitate that kind of game from Milan on the Disruptor here. The Sven, not really good into the Chronosphere, kind of a direct counter pick to the Death Prophet having the Warcry up against the Exorcism, but definitely feels very susceptible to a lot of this control. He's decent against Juggernaut, as you can kind of just Warcry and stand there on the Omni Slash and look to turn after with the God Strength, especially if you have a bit of lifesteal, a bit of sustain. But overall, just not that like Slark-esque type hero that you were mentioning. I think both of us were looking for in the 5th slot, and as was Pro Dota for this Spider Pigs lineup. So yeah, their ability to fight early, perhaps you get a surge into a Stormbolt, but it more often than not is going to rely on a Disruptor glimpse back into an enemy hero out of position, or a vacuum into a Static Storm. So I feel like Pro Dota are postured up for a very strong 10, 11, 12 minute mark, where we'll see if Spider Pigs are able to weather the storm. If that is the case, of course, there's Sven Alchemist combo or no slouch in the late game, but I still feel like Pro Dota, they've got a decent insurance policy in the Juggernaut, and their team fight potential is just so through the roof with any multiple hero Chronosphere and an Exorcism and Supernova on top of that, even dumping the Finger of Death into it. They've assembled a very scary 5-man lineup. So we'll see how the laning stage goes for them. That's certainly going to be a very important phase of the game. If this Void is able to come out of the lane with any semblance of farm, you would expect the Death Prophet and Garter's Juggernaut to do so. So if that is the case, they can definitely hit their stride towards that early mid game.
I think the hero that Spider Pigs needed is Clinks. Now looking at it,
Mhm.
like they are 4 melee heroes up against a Chronosphere
very
and a
good versus Jug.
Supernova.
Yeah.
I mean, like all these things from Pro Dota just crush melee heroes, uh, and it will actually allow them to move around and start sniping heroes, and that's something that they're really lacking right now. Because of that, all their power in the early game almost entirely going to come through this Earth Spirit, as it normally does, and at least he has the Darkseer to help him out, but Pro Dota, it seems like they have the advantage in the early game. They will maybe slump a little bit in the mid game if they're really getting crushed by this Darkseer Earth Spear. But even late game, like even with a farmed Alchemist and a really farmed Sven, you just drop a Chronosphere on them. Like if there's 4 melee heroes, odds are you're going to catch a Chronosphere on someone. So the Faceless Void has so much value here, as does the Phoenix up against Spider Pigs. So I really like the Pro Dota draft, and that I'm not just saying that because I don't like Alchemist. It's just Pro Dota have a very clear goal. They have the sustain, they have the team fight, and they have the pushing power without sacrificing their lanes. And what more could you ask? As a quick side note, Death Prophet's hair, does it look like shit on your screen too? Because it's like frozen and terrible looking.
Looks
Not
okay.
moving.
Oh yeah.
It's like a helmet. It's not hair. Hair is not
It'll
supposed
drop.
to do that.
It's just gravity hasn't quite kicked in yet. The game just started, but I think
Is it
so.
supposed to move?
Maybe it's just maybe it's just. I mean, hairspray, it does wonders, right? Aptly,
Hairspray or super glue?
aptly so. His name is Flo, so real nice flow the Death Prophet is sporting, and yeah, it doesn't seem like that's gonna move all that much. So sideways Super Saiyan for the game, but yeah, I gotta agree with you. I gotta agree with you in the sense that Pro Dota just seemed to have a very obvious directive in this one, and I think a lot of this will come down to how much they can come out of this laning stage with, and I don't think there's enough in just the Earth Spirit to be able to punish Pro Dota's side. Death Prophet very resistant to the Earth Spirit ganks in the mid lane with the Spirit Siphon there, and Alchemist is just not a hero that can punish with an Earth Spirit rotation in, unless he goes for the point in the Unstable Concoction, which is uncommon to say the least. So I really like where Pro Dota is going with this, but that being said, Spider Pigs, essentially are going to take Pro Dota's Game 2 draft, which they beat, and say anything you can do, I can do better. Try and be able to take this Game 3. Winner does move on to the Grand Finals, guys. A little bit of banter between these teams. Mitch and Milan, namely, played on MYI together, so a couple of former teammates. Lizard as well was a member of that team at one point, so these guys very familiar with each other, and good to see some sportsmanship, but loser gonna go home crying. Winner gonna be the one drawing the smiley faces on the map.
They drew a Garter drew like a Keepo face. He actually did. Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was nice. I did take a look at it. I'm gonna trade 1 for 1. Bounty Runes. Alchemist is gonna be able to pick that up, and actually did not skill. So just saving that in case there is a rune engagement level 1. But nice to pick up regardless. And LeBron will block his lane up for him. Look to make this as good a situation as it can be. Up against Flo, it's going to be a bit of a disadvantageous matchup for Monty here.
Especially with the balanced Firebird always hanging by as well. Even with the... Well, here comes the Sunray and the Siphons. Let's see how much damage this does. Don't expect this to get a kill, but I expect the Alchemist to not have a fun time with that type of start, with that double damage over time. The Earth Spirit's contributions to this mid lane looks like it's going to be fairly limited. Like, you can roll in, and then you get siphoned, and then that's pretty much the end of the gank. So, roll in a couple of right clicks, and Flo's able to return fire rather easily. There's not much the Alchemist can really do except for throw acid down, maybe get a couple of punches in, but for the most part, you would expect this Death Prophet to be rather immovable in lane, and with her projectile, with her damage amount right now, probably will be able to, at the very worst, maintain balance in this lane against the Alchemist. So, yeah, it just doesn't seem like the Earth Spirit has many opportunities over in mid. Now up towards top lane, this Darkseer going to go 3v1, push the Juggernaut really, really far back, but as long as, once the Lion grabs level 3, or at least level 2 to get that Hex, then the Darkseer's got to be really careful. In fact, he may just consider leaving the lane just from the get-go and kind of go to the jungle to get those easy levels.
Yeah, I was able to bully Boogie when he saw the Phoenix up in the mid lane, but as soon as the Firebird returned back to top lane, He was shoved out, as you mentioned, and Flo going to be aggressed upon mid, but able to dodge the rolling boulder, and even had it connected, didn't feel like she goes down. She did posture up aggressively up against Monty with this siphon, and that was why LeBron looked for the opening there. But either way, this mid lane certainly going to be Death Prophet favored for the most part, and yeah, as we both alluded to, bottom spirit rotations maybe not as effective as you want him to be. Badr Hari healing up the Void as well as jumping forward. He has a time walk in 2 seconds as well. Oh, but he'll get storm bolted down before he's able to get it off. Badr Hari there able to net the kill as well. Disruptor does end up going down, and Void will gain a bit of experience for that. So all in all, they do at least drag the Earth Spirit towards the bottom lane. However, you know, we already touched upon how he's not going to be all that effective elsewhere. Maybe if he joins up with the Darkseer, they're able to disrupt this radiant or this dire safe lane. But either way, Spider Pig's going to be fairly happy with that. Jumping forward though is 33 immediately off of death, looking to put some harass into this Sven, and Disruptor will be able to return to lane here soon. So should be able to put a stop to that. Lane ward dropped down in the top lane by Boogie, and you know, Darkseer's time going to get all that much more difficult because of it. So we'll see if he retreats to the jungle for now. But Monty definitely holding his own in this mid lane. 11-3 we saw in the last game up against the Alchemist. Monty on the Invoker, able to deny up like 18 creeps 7 or 8 minutes into the game. So Monty definitely doing a little bit better than Flo had in the previous game up against the Invoker on his Alchemist.
And for the Faceless Void, that final end result is actually really good for him. Getting the experience from that is really all he wants out of this lane. You could see his confidence and being able to get that time lock. Of course, helps him in jungle as well if that ever becomes a necessity for this Faceless Void. He already has the Quelling Blade after all, but whenever you're outnumbered in lane and you trade evenly while at the same time getting experience, pretty much regardless of who gets the kills or who ends up dying first, it's rather what hero you are, it's going to be advantageous for you as the offlaner, as the one who's outnumbered. Since you're going to need that experience to keep up, he's going to get hammered once again. Here comes the silence, and this time the Faceless Void cannot time walk out. And this time Lizard is a little bit slow incoming as the Phoenix. This time Faceless Void just not seeing the Earth Spirit there. I think if he knew that was happening, probably could have just avoided that situation entirely.
Yeah, in general, it would be a win for 33 to keep dragging this roaming hero over towards the safe lane if he was able to trade at all. But in this, he is going to get glimpsed back to base. That's going to be super unfortunate. And a little bit of banter as well there. But yeah, I just wanted to touch upon the fact that we really don't characterize the Earth Spirit as being all that effective elsewhere. So in this scenario, him dragging the Earth Spirit over and constantly dying, if he's not at least gaining levels from it, is certainly undesirable. And 33 gonna pick up his level 4 here shortly, so is being out leveled and out farmed a bit by the Darkseer as you would expect, but not terribly behind where he wants to be. Lizard will effectively zone this Sven out of lane for the time being, and 33 will be able to find a bit of farm here, his level 4 as well. So Void kind of on track to be effective towards this early mid game. Mid lane, Flo gonna jump in towards Monty, has the Spirit Siphon up, and will have another one ready. May just want to dive the tower here, but gets fogged before he can pop off the second Spirit Siphon, and for that reason will not continue to charge forward. Meanwhile, top lane, they do find Mitch for the first time, and looks like Omni Slash, expended there for the first time. Garter able to net a kill, and it will be a pretty big one. It's going to give 33 some room to catch up as well. Speaking of 33, they've pincered in Milan. Sunray is there, but isn't channeled on him fully by Lizard. Lizard a little bit off with that level 2 Sunray, and probably would have been just short of the kill as well. But they will be able to back this Disruptor away, continue to give 33 some time and space in lane, and the Lion plus Juggernaut doing enough work top to warrant this presence.
It's a lot of trouble for the Alchemist, although Boogie's not going in
Chemical
for some reason.
Rage, yeah. I
Not
guess
spotted just yet, and now the Siphon's going to come in, so a little bit of slow. Phoenix damages here as well as the Spike, and they will get the kill on the Alchemist, almost for sure. I think he's trying to bash Lizard in the face, just to, off chance of getting a kill maybe for LeBron, but it is going to be a very nice setup there for Prodota, and it looks like they're almost winning across all these lanes. Like, the Faceless Void, even though he's died twice, was bullying the Sven out of lane. The Sven wasn't really super healthy to start things off, but the Faceless Void is just able to do that because he has Bash, and he knows that once the Sven casts something, whether it's the Hammer or Warcry, then it's already a mission well done by the Faceless Void, just getting that out of the way. So he's having a very easy time on this bottom lane.
Yeah.
Until Milan comes in, perhaps. The Faceless Void now is not going to dodge the Hammer with the Time Walk. He's going to take a lot of damage and not even get rid of it. Now the Glimpse back, and the silence is there. Super greedy play from the Faceless Void. Had Time Walk the entire time just for a heal, but really wanted to save it at the last second after the Glimpse and gets punished. But it is going to be rotation from 4 heroes from Spider Pigs in order to get that 1 kill on an off-lane Faceless Void. So it is an expensive exchange there for Spider Pigs.
I mean, it's not as if their Darkseer was in lane, would have been in lane pressuring the Juggernaut anyways. The Death Prophet doesn't have the Exorcism skilled up in the mid lane, so it doesn't pressure a tower. So when all is said and done, they don't lose all that much from it. And yeah, definitely still felt like a greedy play from the Void. That's the second time already he's been punished by the Geomagnetic Grip and brought down. But I do agree that the laning stage is going decently for Prodota. It's going not necessarily as they would expect, but they're getting enough out of it. Lizard is going to have his level 6 Supernova soon. The Chronosphere is going to come up for 33 soon as well. And once they pick up those 2 ultimates, definitely look for them to take a fight or at least force the hand of Spider Pigs as they'll group up around one of these tier 1s with the Exorcism and those big ultimates at the ready.
They'll be able to exercise towers and at the same time probably do it without needing Garter most of the time, I think, as long as they get a reasonably timed Chronosphere, and it looks like it'll actually be very quick. And Lizard's actually not too far away from his own level 6. Wow, a lot more farm on the Phoenix than I really expected. Milan's looking for a glimpse onto said bird. He's going to bring him back. There's a Hammer here as well, but the right-click damage just isn't there. Now Milan is on the receiving end of a Faceless Void. No bashes, never lucky. We'll still get the spike from Boogie teleported in. This Faceless Void has been very unfortunate with the timing of his bashes. He's always been getting them when they didn't matter at all, but either way, making an aggressive play like that from Spider Pigs is ill-advised to say the least. Like, they don't get the Phoenix there if they open up with the Glimpse, because you gotta burst him down, and he's just gonna Icarus dive away. And now Chronosphere is up. Now Finger is up from Boogie, and in just a little bit of experience, Supernova will be up as well. So these ultimates are coming up, whereas on Spider Pigs, oh, they're actually gonna catch the Sven with the Sunray here, Finger of Death as backup. They're just gonna spike him, work him down. Don't even need the Finger. Get another kill on another hero on this bottom lane. This is a disaster zone here for Spider Pigs, and their other supports, level 4 each on Disruptor and Earth Spirit, are way far behind the supports of Prodota.
Yeah, they've been able to just lane greedily here because they can rely entirely on their Death Prophet to deal with the mid lane. And you know, Alchemist hasn't been stymied that heavily. He's where he wants to be at this point. 9 minutes in, has the armlet up, 1300 gold on top of that. So that definitely hasn't been, you know, held back all that much. But the heroes that need to be fighting in the meantime while he farms have been. The Darkseer has died twice, drops again to the top lane. Sven has gone down once in this bottom lane and been zoned out a handful of times. And you know, 33 just on the front lines. Lizard has his Supernova available here as well relatively soon with the mana. And Boogie, he's got his level 6. Now Milan, he's in trouble. Sunray will scout him there. They'll get the Impale off. They'll economically save the Finger of Death, bring him down, and we'll be able to continue pressuring into this tower.
The Earth Spirit just can't create enough space. He's the only one who can do so, but he's not able to. And I think the most surprising thing is that he hasn't actually made the long rotation up towards top lane, tried to join with the Darkseer and really put it to the top lane heroes. I guess the supports have since rotated out, seeing as though Juggernaut is already so far ahead, getting 2 solo kills on the enemy Darkseer, but that just hasn't happened. The bright spot here for Spider Pigs is that the Alchemist has gotten a crap ton of money. Like 74 CS is a lot. He's clearing out now a triple stack of Ancients, so he's getting even more cash. Already has Armlet. He has most of the way towards his Relic as well, so he's doing pretty well, but having a farmed Alchemist is not going to win you a game when Prodota have a Phoenix. That's just not going to happen. So Spider Pigs really need to use the Alchemist to get farm for other heroes, and I mean, that's just not really what the hero is supposed to do. And Spider Pigs don't really have anyone who can really make space at this point, it seems.
Boogie stalking, looking to find this out. Finger of Death is going to be there, but MNT, he is able to survive, and now the boulder smash through. Boogie going to pay for his insolence. Gets a little greedy there. The Chronosphere came back off of cooldown. Could have just kind of waited for the Void to rotate through. They will find the return kill onto LeBron. But 33 was ready with his second cooldown, and unfortunately he's just gonna overestimate his damage potential a little bit on Boogie. Waste a big cooldown in the Finger of Death. Prodota, though, with their Exorcism on the sidelines, they weren't looking really to take a full-scale engagement there, so not the biggest loss, but 70 seconds until the Exorcism up. The Chronosphere is up until then. Supernova there as well. Omni Slash once again onto Mitch. He's able to surge away this time, though. Sunray, oh, just short of bringing him down. Garter now looking for the spin TP out, and will be able to make it. Lizard juking down to the south. Has a TP of his own. Looks like he will be scouted here. Drops up some vision to try and keep himself alive. The grip and the boulder smash